What's going on, everybody? Doc and Sloth back yet again. Halo Wars 2 action. And again, this is our part 2 for our unit comparisons. Today, we're going to focus on the UNSC. So if you didn't check out part 1, please do. There we talk banished units. But again, general overview is me and Sloth put quite a bit of time in and developed what we think is a pretty useful spreadsheet for comparing unit to unit. So again, we're looking at statistics with keeping as much of the variables the same as we can. And taking a look at, how much better is a Wolverine compared to a Vanguard Wolverine, or vice versa. We looked at a lot of different stuff. We looked at specifically the two things we kind of focused on were one, what were kind of the health change increases or decreases, and then also more specifically, time to kill for the same unit. So you'll see us, we're going to jump into a match right here real quick. We're just doing a 1v1 private match on Blitz. The nice thing here is if you do this and you don't capture any points, as long as the game stays tied, you will actually continue to run and the time will not run out on you. So this game continues. So if you want to do any testing yourself, this is how we're doing it and how we're setting up. If you watch our part 1 and don't need to see this, you can fast forward here probably about a minute or so, 2 minutes, and we'll be through it and we're talking actual units. But again, a very helpful spreadsheet. It definitely enlightened us. There's quite a few takeaways. And for the UNSC side, some surprises, to be honest, with a few specific units. So we broke this down again. You can check it down. We have a link to the actual spreadsheet down in the comments below. Gives you guys view access. You should be able to save your own copy. That way, if you want to make any adjustments for your specific veteran level, that's probably the biggest difference and the biggest factor that we couldn't honestly control, because again, we're just opening packs. What we're getting in the packs is obviously completely random. So we'll continue to evolve this, hopefully get to the point where we have everything, at least comparatively, to the same level for veterancy, to give us maybe some slightly better refined numbers. But as it stands right now, we got a lot of really good takeaways. And honestly, especially for the UNSC, nothing really was too crazy as far as veteran level differences. So I think we were able to make some pretty good, just like we did for the Banish, some pretty good comparisons for overall time to kill. So again, we're just jumping into this real quick. We're going to grab some energy, and we're going to do the Wolverines just as a good show. So we got our standard Wolverine here. And we will be fighting these against the Banshee. And this was actually kind of an interesting takeaway. So the veteran, or the Vanguard, excuse me, this actually surprised me quite a bit. Honestly, I thought a majority of what we were paying for with this unit was going to be really just for the rush ability. It ends up being where the Vanguard Wolverine in this instance ends up having 2 additional health bars and is actually stronger, which I think is awesome, and in my opinion totally makes it worth the cost. And I think, Sloth, you agreed here.
Yeah, I mean, this has been the biggest thing for us, is to see what are the actual differences in these units. Because, I mean, like you said, I just thought we were getting the rush ability with the Vanguard Wolverine, and that was just kind of the end of it. And as it turns out, I mean, we're getting more health, we're getting more damage, we're getting an overall better unit. And especially when you look at the difference of 30 energy, I mean, heck yeah, I'm gonna use the Vanguard Wolverine at any chance I get.
Absolutely.
So it's a perfect example of why we did this.
Right. And so all we're doing here is, you just saw with the standard one, we're going to bring it in, and all we did is essentially have a stopwatch set up. As soon as Sloth brings that unit in and the first missiles hit, he's starting the time. And we just time essentially until this unit is dead, and then we just made a comparison. So that's where we get the time to kill. Again, with this, we tried to make it so that, and Sloth, we can back out of this mission. I think we should be all set here, but we ended up trying to make it useful as far as the comparison for the unit. And so we were either looking at something that had kind of a neutral feel, or in the instance of certain specific units like anti-air, we obviously want to show them against an air unit, because that's what you're going to be calling them in for. So hopefully the comparisons are pretty good. But again, we tried to use the same few units pretty much across the board, just to give a good understanding and a good baseline.
Yeah.
Now,
And I used
yep.
in the oh, sorry. In the Banished video, I kind of used the differences in infantry as far as that goes to give you an example of that. So like Hellbringers went up against grunts, whereas Cyclopses went up against Reavers.
Right.
They're both infantry, but it doesn't make sense to send Cyclopses after a bunch of grunts because they're just not going to fare well against them. So we tried to do things that made sense at least.
Right. So we'll just jump into a couple specific cards and a couple specific takeaways again. You guys can check out the spreadsheet, check the numbers. Some pretty basic stuff just up front. It did seem like for the most part with most units, if you're using a leveled up unit or a veteran unit, again, you're generally getting more health. Now, the Cyclops is one difference. Its health does stay the same, but the veteran unit did get an additional 2 seconds of damage. So comparatively, we're looking at the Cyclops here, and the Cyclops and the reactive Cyclops almost, these seem to be the exact same unit. I think this is kind of general across the board, maybe with the exception of the Marines just a little bit. I think the Marines to reactive Marines, they did get a little bit better. They were a little bit better damage, but obviously the 40 energy cost difference, I think they kind of had to make that difference, whereas the Cyclops compared to reactive had same time to kill, and really you're just getting the reactive ability. So kind of important to note there. But again, if we look at Cyclops compared to the veteran Cyclops, which if I can find it here, eventually I will, right here. Honestly, a big takeaway for me, and I realized very much worth the additional energy, in my opinion. You're getting a unit that even slightly one veteran level lower for us ended up killing the Reaver 2 seconds faster, which is huge for me. So this is clearly better. It seemed like almost this unit, I don't know if it had a faster firing rate. Sloth, I think it was maybe close. The veteran might have had
it felt a little fast.
Yeah, just might have had a slight advantage, but clearly was dealing more damage per hit. So kind of a big takeaway for me there. As far as the Warthogs, this was actually interesting to me. Obviously, you have your standard Warthog at 60 right here, and then you also have your armored Warthog at 90, which these two generally kind of fared the same. Again, we saw typically with armored units is that they were gaining a little bit more health. So in the instance of these guys, 2 additional health bars for the armored Warthog, but same really damage per second and time to kill against the Reaver. Now with this, I do want to highlight for the vehicles, we did it against the Reaver, but we only tested it against taking out the shield, just because a lot of these units didn't fare very well trying to take down the entire unit. So that was kind of our measure, and we put that in the notes as well, so you guys can see that if you are looking at the spreadsheet. But the biggest difference to me was actually how much better the Trooper Warthog got compared to its armored and standard brother. It actually it falls kind of in between the regular Warthog and the armored for health, so it's at 5 compared to 4 and 6, but it's doing almost twice as much damage, which really, I don't want to say surprised me, but it's nice to see that you are really getting the cost out of the energy for this unit, and then additionally having Last Stand 3 helps. And we kind of made a comparison to the Blisterback and Enduring Blisterback as far as Last Stand units. It almost seems like they keep them kind of at a mid-level health, and in the Blisterback, they actually had it be 1 less health, because it's almost to the point, and this is kind of our assumption, that they kind of want this unit to be able to get killed. So just a very interesting perspective for these 2 units. Definitely we'll look at using the Trooper Warthog a little bit more because of its damage output. So I was pretty impressed with that. And then Sloth, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to highlight. I don't want to jack this entire thing.
No, you're good. When we were doing these, I did a lot of the Banished, and Doc did a lot of the UNSC, so kind of have just a little bit of divisional labor and specialization. But you talked a lot about the veteran Cyclops and stuff. It's funny because we've been preaching about how great the reactive Cyclops is for months,
right?
Since the beta, and lo and behold, we were wrong the whole time. But that's exactly why we did this. It's perfect.
Yes.
Hellbringers, wild Hellbringers. What you want to do is you want to take those, and you put them in the trash. Just garbage. Just absolutely terrible units. We had level 4 Hellbringers go up against level 4 Grunts. So on paper, Hellbringers, good high veteran level. Low energy, they're going up against Grunts, the thing they're supposed to be able to destroy. I think they lasted, like they had one unit and like a sliver of health left.
Yep.
I don't see the point of them. If they're going to ever see viability, they're going to need to see a pretty big increase in damage output. Like you were talking about, the Trooper Warthog really separated itself for us. We knew that it had the Gauss cannon, whereas the standard Warthog and the armored Warthog just had a normal chain gun.
Right.
I don't know. For some reason, it never felt like it was really just pounding the damage like it was when we did the numbers. So, I mean, that's really cool to see the one-on-ones and to see, you know, there's a lot of big battles and there's a lot of stuff going on, but if we kind of break it down to just really simple variables, it can be really helpful. The thing that I'm probably going to look at is the veteran Jackrabbit.
Right.
Self-healing capability and 9.8 damage against a Reaver. I mean, it's faster than a Warthog. That's awesome.
Right.
And it heals itself. So I don't know. I mean, that's something that I'm probably going to have to start using soon.
Right. A little bit more. I think it was a little bit more squishy on damage that it could take, but again, the ability to heal kind of makes up for that. So that's a great point. One other thing I want to point out, it's interesting specifically for me to look at the two kind of specialty tanks. So we're looking at the Grizzly, which obviously has the missile barrage, and they're both sitting at 150 energy, and then the Lockdown Scorpion, which has the added ability of shock. It's interesting to see, honestly, how much better the Grizzly was compared to the Lockdown Scorpion as far as damage output. So again, the Grizzly, and we're doing just base attack here, no special abilities, so just want to make that clear. 17.4 damage for the Grizzly to take out a Reaver compared to 20 seconds for the Lockdown Scorpion. And then the Grizzly's getting 3 additional health bars, which is really just insane to me as far as, you know, how much over the course of this thing's life additional damage it's going to be able to do. So that was a really interesting look and something I'll take away. It kind of makes Forge kind of neat. Now, obviously, you can't have these both in the same deck, but when you're starting to look at maybe cards that you have or cards that you have that are leveled up, kind of some considerations that you can put into as far as what leaders you actually want to use. And obviously, these two units by far better than the Scorpion, but honestly, the Scorpion, it doesn't fare too bad itself, coming in at 23.5 seconds to kill the Reaver as well. Now, obviously, slightly less health, but still an overall really good unit. So it's just interesting to make that note. And I think the biggest takeaway, we don't really need to talk too much on the heroes. One note we do want to make is we did not have Jerome. So the statistics we provided, we tried to replicate in regular multiplayer, but we understand there's probably some variables there that we couldn't wholly capture. So we will update this as soon as one of us gets Jerome, and we will run the test. But we at least wanted to show some base statistics to kind of give you an idea and understanding. I think he's probably closer to a midpoint between Alice and Douglas than we showed. But obviously, again, we didn't actually have him. But the biggest takeaway for me, was the Aggressor and the Protector Sentinel. Now, the Aggressor Sentinel is sitting at a very cheap 30 energy. Probably one of the cheapest units, honestly, that you would even consider using. And most people, like me, I didn't even have it in the deck because I thought it was kind of a throwaway. When you look at just a base comparison between the Aggressor Sentinel and the Protector Sentinel, which is 40 additional energy, the Aggressor Sentinel was better. And not by a little bit either, which is the crazy part. So we're looking at 11 seconds difference where the Aggressor Sentinel was able to take down the Engineer compared to 36.6 for the Protector. Now, obviously, the Protector has the Lockdown Bolt, but again, we didn't really test that as much. But again, for 40 additional energy, it's only getting 1 additional health bar, and it was across the board worse against everything. And that was one thing you'll see in the notes that we tested it against each different type of unit, because when we did the original test against the Engineer, I told Salatha, I was like, well, that doesn't really make sense. Why is it going to be so much better? And I said, well, maybe the Protector Sentinel, it does get an upgrade over vehicles, and get an upgrade over infantry, as far as the kind of rock, paper, scissors, what the stats are showing you. You can see there it's yellow against infantry and then green against vehicles, whereas the aggressor is red against infantry and yellow against vehicles. And the aggressor sentinel beat it out on every single step. Now, obviously, we have one veteran level difference, but I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. I think the aggressor sentinel is wholeheartedly just a better overall unit than the protector sentinel at a cheaper cost. So very interesting, probably the biggest takeaway for me from the UNSC side, and I'm really, really happy that we were able to do this test and to take a look at all these different units. So hopefully you guys, sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was say I mean we want to keep into account a lot of the veteran levels. So I mean, like you said, the aggressor sentinel is a veteran level higher, but it's 11 seconds faster against air, 6 seconds against ground or against infantry, and 7 seconds against vehicles. That is substantial. That's not a veteran level issue.
Right.
That is a balancing issue. The aggressor sentinel is awesome at 30 energy. That thing is crazy. And actually all of the air units as a whole really surprised me from the UNSC. I always liked the Hornet. The Hornet was cool. I never really used the Trooper Hornet a lot. But that thing, it also gets the 2 Marines hanging out the side of the Hornet firing rocket launchers.
Yes.
So you get another 10 seconds faster against the engineers and another health bar. The Trooper Hornet is awesome. That thing, I mean, its time to kill is better than the Vulture. Obviously, it doesn't have that Phoenix ability like the Vulture does, but good gracious, I mean, you can just hit anything with a couple Trooper Hornets. I'd be terrified to face that.
Right. Now, the one plug,
you know,
sorry, real quick, the one plug I will make for the Vulture is just the fact that we did do a test. The Vulture can simultaneously shoot air and ground units at the same time. And it ran about the same, I think the same amount of time to kill. I think we ran it up against, I'm not sure, a chopper or something compared to the engineer. So same time to kill. So that is where that gets that significant advantage because it can engage multiple units and multiple types of units at the same time.
Yeah, it was cool because the first time we did that, we put the Vulture up against the engineer, and we noticed the cannons weren't firing, just the missiles. And so then we tried it again. We put the chopper out there, and the cannons were just pounding away at the chopper. The chopper was dead before the engineer died. So it was actually the same time to kill for 2 units. So that is really cool. And obviously you do have the 4 extra health. I mean, that's worth noting. The Vulture's still great, but the takeaway for me was just how good the Trooper Hornet was.
Yeah,
and just in interest of time, we'll wrap things up here a little bit, but I wanted to segue Trooper Hornet for Cutter. If you also look at the Vanguard Kodiak versus the Stealth Kodiak, I loved the idea of the Stealth Kodiak for Cutter. Not very good compared to the Vanguard. I mean, the standard Kodiak and the Stealth Kodiak are similar. Stealth obviously has a little bit more of a break. It has the stealth and it has 1 extra health. But the Vanguard Kodiak beats the snot out of both of them. We do have a veteran level issue there, but I don't think it's enough to account for 12 seconds. That's a lot of time.
Right, absolutely. All great points. So we'll kind of wrap it up like Sloth said here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Please do check out the spreadsheet. Take a look at the unit comparisons. Again, there's a lot more that we can pull from this. Again, we'll continue to update as we go, especially if we get units to a higher veteran level to kind of even them out and adjust some of their numbers. But I think for the most part, again, we got some really good takeaways. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the spreadsheet. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and use some of this knowledge, again, when you're kind of taking a look at your deck builds, which we are going to look at. I know ours personally here in just a little bit. So you probably see some videos on just a few updates based off of this spreadsheet here in the future. But we really enjoyed this, did put a lot of time into it. And let us know down in the comments what you guys think, what was helpful. And if you do any testing on your own, if you found any other stuff that we might have missed, and please continue to kind of provide that feedback, update the spreadsheet on your own, and let us know your findings as well. So we'll leave you here. Again, hopefully you guys enjoyed. I've been Doc, that's been Sloth. We are Average Gamer Guys. Thank you so very much for watching. We appreciate all the support. Make sure to subscribe, follow us on Twitter. That way you're getting all the updates for all these different videos. A lot more Halo Wars 2 action coming at you, as well as a lot of other games, Rocket League and the like. So thanks again for watching. We will check you next time.